Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be rebuilding GE Valorant, and now I know this has probably been a long-awaited one for you GE fans, but me personally, I don't know. I just don't find this team super interesting to rebuild, probably because it's a very difficult one to do from an organizational point of view in terms of balancing getting the Indian talent, building up that scene, and kind of trying to win. So I'm going to try to do my best to balance that here. I think I did a pretty good job. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this roster. I do actually think it's pretty good and it should compete within Pacific. Um, and yeah, if you guys enjoy, leave a like and subscribe. Really helps me out. Also, go check out all my other rebuild videos. This will actually be my last individual team video. I will be doing one more video to recap all of Pacific. And then it's on to like some random videos throughout the off season until um, what's it called? Until the season starts. So I did say that I was going to do a player rankings video after the series was done, like just after. I think I'm going to delay that because I'm going to do a whole series of player rankings before the season starts, and I don't want to do one where I don't exactly know everything about all the players that I want to. So I am going to wait on that, but you'll get videos like maybe an agent tier list once these Sage and I think Gecko changes come through. I think Sage, Gecko, Cypher were the three uh, left still. So once those come out, I'll be sure to make that kind of video. I'll also be making more videos on my guides channel. I'll try to remember to put the link in the description this time. I didn't last time, but if I don't, it'll be in the link in the description to my T1 rebuild video. So if you guys are interested in that, go check that out. It's also called Wilkin Guides, so you can go search that up if that'll come up. And I think that's it for the intro. So yeah, let's get right into this. So before we talk about what this team is going to be doing in 2025, we got to talk about what they do in 2024. They completely reset their roster. They blew everything up. I guess technically Lightning Fast was on the organization beforehand. He played one game the year before. I'm not going to count that. But yeah, they had him, Benkai, Russ, Pvi, and Blaze King. Blaze King, who I thought was a really good player, they had him on Initiator. I thought that was interesting. But they went 1-2 at kickoff, honestly better than I thought they would. 2-4 in stage one, and then 1-3 in stage two. Just a terrible year all around. I think that record honestly makes it look even better than it was for this team. So very, very disappointing year for them. But oh, I didn't even fill out this slide, dude. Oh my god. Anyways, so the goal for this roster, even though the slide is blank here, I'm just gonna leave it like this, bro. The goal for this roster will be to just kind of compete in 2025, maybe build a better roster, kind of develop a couple players into 2026 and be a very good force that year, but also have an Indian player on the roster here, which I think I picked out a pretty good one. Uh, Not the one that people mostly expect, but is still very, very good. All right, so now let's get into the players that we'll be removing. We're going to be removing Pvi, Benkai, Lightning Fast, and Rust. We are going to be keeping Blaze King here because I do think he still showed a lot on Sentinel um, at the end of last year, but we'll get into more specifics in a second right here. So we'll start with Lightning Fast. I think it's pretty just simple as I just found a better Indian player than him to replace him. Not that he was awful last year, but I just don't think he's good enough to justify keeping over some of these other options that are free agents now, with some of the other changes around the league and everything like that. Because I did target quite a bit of free agent talent, maybe like free agent talent that was dropped from other tier one teams, like players with experience to surround some of this Indian talent. So yeah, I just didn't think Lightning Fast really fit in with this roster. He played a bunch of weird stuff last year as well. I just couldn't really pinpoint one role that I don't want to keep him on. Otherwise, I might have been considering keeping him, considering, I mean, he had some decent mechanical moments last year. It wasn't like all terrible, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest Lightning Fast fan. Then we'll talk about Russ and Pvi kind of together. I think these signings were kind of lumped together as two that were just kind of, I don't really know what you're gonna get out of these guys, like, or like what they're even planning to get out of these guys. Because like there were two players who were never particularly good in the MEA. It's not like they had shown some great mechanical skill or anything like that, and just needed to be developed. Like, it wasn't like they were picking up, I don't know, Kiwi, who, I mean, did show more than both of these guys, or like, who's the other guy? The guy that played for Heretics and was like a psychopath. Oh my god, I need to look it up now. Hold on. Oops. We'll do this. 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 There we go. I probably should have had a VLR tab open. Heretics. Can't believe I'm forgetting people's names now. That's crazy. The game's like that old. So this season, here we go. Kellogg's. Yeah, it's not like they're. Oh wait, why did it do that? Okay. Okay, we're back now. Yeah, Kellogg's, who played for Heretics last year. It's not like they were picking up somebody like that who like was mechanically skilled but really just needed to be taught how to play the game. I kind of think Pvi needed both, but he did show some nice stuff. I just thought he was really being set up with how they played the game. Like they had some nice ideas with how they played in terms of like that second round outlaw force that they would give Pvi sometimes, especially on Icebox. I thought that made that map very good for them. And Pvi was very good specifically there, but not really anywhere else. And then Russ had some nice moments with calling. I'm sure he definitely added to like some of the wider game ideas for this team, which actually looked pretty good. And I think Russ might have a future coaching if he wants to do that, but otherwise, I don't really see a team taking a chance on either of these players at any point, unless Pvi wants to transition to a different role or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, just two kind of signings that never really made sense, and I mean, still don't. Then Benkai, who was a signing that I did like, honestly, but he just was never set up in a spot to succeed on this roster. He should have been the IGL. It should never have been Russ. They should have picked up another good mechanical player to kind of help out with the fragging on this team. There should be, I mean, he should be on initiator probably, especially within this team. And it took them until like the last couple games to actually figure that out, the initiator thing. I think that was more to do with Blaze King being a lot better on Sentinel because he is. Um, but yeah, those were two roles that I just never thought made any sense to me. Um, and I think you could argue that maybe keeping Blaze King might actually be a good idea. That would be kind of crazy though. And yeah, especially because I'm pretty sure he retired in real life. I'm just going to honor that and I'm going to remove him here from this global rebuild. So now onto our needs. We need everything but a Sentinel player. We need a duelist, flashes, initiator, smokes, and an IGL. So lots of needs here to be talked about. I'm not going to be talking about a flashes player here specifically because that's what I'm going to pick up as my IGL. So we have Paradox, Juicy, and Saya player as our duelist. Paradox is an Indian player. You got Saya, who has been rumored for this team a little bit, but I don't think they ended up picking him up. And Juicy, who has been the player for Bleed in 2023, was really good, and then was kind of okay for DSG last year. Then initiators, you have Carpe, Zest, Rossi, very good trio to choose from. Carpe, who was cut from T1, Zest, who's a free agent because Bleed kind of dissolved, and then Rossi, who also got cut from T1. Then controllers, you have Scary, same reason as Zest, DOS9, who played in the Indian scene, but I don't think he's Indian, and then Mind Freak, who does get removed from Paper Rex in this world, but he ended up going to Bleed, so I'm not going to be like secretive about that until I pick him up. What was I going to say? Oh my god, I've never had a blank that bad. I was like mid-sentence and just forgot completely. But yeah, I picked him up in the Bleed rebuild, so he's going to end up getting removed here from that team technically and is now a free agent. And then IGLs, you have Yes I Can, which, I mean, that was really the best option out there, so not ideal. So as we kind of just mentioned, there's not too many great IGLs in Pacific, so I end up picking up Mitch here to be my IGL, which kind of comes out of left field, but I think he's been a pretty good caller for Oxygen for 2 straight years in challengers, and there's just not enough spots in NA for him to fit in there. Especially with some doubts about like, I mean, he's been calling for quite a while before. I think like he was the IGL on Cloud9 before they picked up Vanity for the first time. And I also think, I don't know, he just has some decent flexibility. If he doesn't like, if you don't want him to IGL, if you have somebody else, you can move him over to Sentinel, and he can still play pretty well there. But generally, when he is IGLing, he will be playing the flashes, flex kind of stuff. Like he can play all the flashes stuff. I'm sure if he really needed to, he could probably play some scan stuff. He could play Sentinel. He could probably play smokes as well, I think. But the scan and the smokes are just kind of speculation from me. Just kind of watching him and kind of listening to him talk about the game or whatnot. I think he can definitely have a bit more flexibility in there. And yeah, I think if you've watched NA for a decent amount in your Valorant lifetime, I guess, I don't know what to call it, you know who Mitch is, and you know he's at worst pretty solid, and I think that's definitely better than what you're going to get from some of these specific IGLs, which is kind of the main reason we are importing here. Then we have Zest, who is the first of many, or no, maybe not many, but first of a few free agent players that we're going to be picking up. He's an elite initiator player who can play all initiators, I guess, outside of like the flashes ones like KO, Breach, those stuff. He's not as good at those, but he can also play Viper, which is very good for letting Mitch play those flash agents, and then he can play whatever else you need. And then I don't know. Everyone knows who Zest is. Everyone knows that he's really good, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on him here. Then you have Scary, who, again, another player that I don't need to spend a ton of time on, but he's amazing smokes player. I think he's been very underrated for a long time, even last year, I thought he was pretty decent last year. I think if he had gotten picked up by a tier 1 team in 2023, his career would be looking a lot different right now. But I did move him to Sentinel in my Bleed series, or my Bleed rebuild, just because I thought maybe his more lurky style, similar to Marved on the Sentinel role, or would look better there. But I think he'll still be great on smokes. I do have a Sentinel player that I like. So, we have Blaze King. We already have the player. So I think I'm fine keeping Scary on Sentinel or on smokes if we have a Sentinel player like Blaze King on this team. Then last up, we have Paradox, who I haven't heard much about. I'm kind of surprised GE didn't pick him up in real life, honestly. From what I watched, I thought he was a pretty good duelist prospect from India. Probably the best Indian player at the moment, in my opinion. That could be between him and like Lightning Fast, maybe SK Rossi, some of these players that have gotten tier 1 opportunities to develop. But yeah, he's not like amazing. I would probably sign someone else to compete with him. If they beat him out to start the year, then that's fine, but let him keep developing on the bench. Something like that. I think he has really good mechanics and can play raids and neon at a super high level, or maybe not a super high, at a good level, in my opinion. But there are some questions about if he can play Jet to a high level, just because, when they did play Jet, his team, I think it was, I don't remember the name, but I know they made Ascension. Revenant, yeah. When they did play Jet, that team, it was mainly just SK Rossi playing that stuff. So you do have some questions about that. Paradox did play some other stuff, like some smokes, when they would play some, like the Fnatic comp on Haven, which is, these roles are insane on this team. So if you want to, like, I don't know, if Blaze King's underperforming, you could say, okay, Blaze King, you're out. You can move Paradox over to Smokes, put Scary over to Sentinel, and then bring in this duelist player that you have to compete with Paradox. I think that could be a potential option as well. Paradox is still performing pretty well, so I don't know. I still really like this signing. I think he should be very good for this team, no matter what. Obviously, he doesn't get signed in real life, but I think it would be a good pickup for GE to kind of just have him maybe on the bench or something like that, just to kind of sit there and develop, maybe have him play a few scrims or whatnot with the team. I don't know exactly how it would work, but yeah, just a pretty good prospect, but not a great player currently. So our final roster here will be Paradox, Mitch, Zest, Scary, Blaze King. I think I am like a lot of the keeping Blaze King stuff is from what I thought about him before 2024, but I do think a lot of that, like a lot of the dysfunction of this team and him playing initiator kind of played into maybe getting a little underrated. Obviously, he does retire in real life. I think that is largely to do with how he played in 2024 and getting cut from GE in real life. I think if GE was like, okay, we're going to keep you and we're going to build around you, maybe he wouldn't have, but I don't know. Just a pretty interesting roster here. And I think a team that can compete for playoffs, honestly, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to be a great team. I don't think they're going to be making Masters events and winning them, but I do think this team can definitely compete with some of the better teams in Pacific. Maybe not right with your Paper Rexes and Gen Gs and teams like that, but a team that can definitely contend and do some stuff in Pacific. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Go check out all my other videos, my other channels, everything I talked about in the intro. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.